is in a certain sense repeated or done again by the apostles. A very, very easy and basic example of this, outside of the reading that I'll be talking about in a minute, would be the Annunciation of Our Lady. We see that the angel of the Lord comes to Mary and says, "You'll conceive a child," and the Holy Spirit descends upon her, and she conceives by the Holy Spirit. Well, that's at the very beginning of the Gospel of Luke. What we see mirroring in the Acts of the Apostles is almost the exact same thing. The apostles are gathered in a room together with Mary, but then the Holy Spirit descends upon the apostles. This mirroring of the two things. And again, this is going to happen over and over and over again. And the reason I point this out is, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is that St. Paul is trying to show, through St. Luke is trying to show that the actions and words of Jesus are being done by the apostles, that the words of Jesus, the actions in Jesus, aren't just merely a historical event that occurred at one time in one place, but that the apostles are participating in these words and in these actions. They're bringing him to life again and again and again. So we have a great, almost a Eucharistic account. This memorial occurs again and again, fresh and anew, in the Acts of the Apostles. So just keeping these two ideas in the mind for the listener, for the person that'll be reading this. If you have these two things in your mind at all times, I think it bears a lot of spiritual fruit. And then finally, the third very general theme that I think needs to be kept in mind when reading the Gospel of Luke is part of this whole speaking to the Gentiles, but more of a slight nuance on it. And that is that Luke's Gospel is the Gospel for all people. St. Matthew, he's writing for the Jewish nation, so he's speaking to particularly the Jews, and he's using very Jewish ideas and thoughts. Well, St. Luke is speaking to everybody, and so many of the themes that he chooses to recount are themes that are accepting of everyone, love of everyone, mercy toward all, these great things. So in a little bit we'll hear the story later on in the weeks. We'll hear the story of the prodigal son and the great Samaritan, all these great mercy themes, these acceptance of everyone. We don't hear about just specifically Jewish ideas anymore. And part of that is that Luke is trying to tell these Gentile nations that everybody's accepted into the fold of Christ. And this is a theme that occurs throughout the Gospel of Luke, throughout the Acts of the Apostles, but as we're going to see in just a little bit, comes right to the front in this Gospel passage. So keeping these three ideas in mind, it's written for Gentiles. The Acts of the Apostles is an essential part, but then also this slight nuance on the first, that is that the Gospel is written for everybody. I think helps bring a lot of meaning to the Gospel of Luke in general, but also this passage. So let's dive right into the passage itself.
Okay.
The first thing I'd like to point out is the appointing of 72 others. Now, I realize I just got done talking about how the Gospel of Luke isn't written for a specifically Jewish audience, but in order to arrive at the significance of these 72 others, the symbolic significance of this, why Jesus would choose 72, we do need a little background in the Jewish faith. And when the Jew or the person that knows the Jewish faith hears the 72, immediately they're going to have some flashbacks to like what we would call the equivalent of an early Sunday school. It would be actually Saturday Sabbath school, you could say. But
very interesting.
It would be the story of Moses. Moses, he's